All right, guys, here it is. A full 12 hours early. We get all kinds of information on the C8 Corvette Zr1. Let's jump right into it because this one is massive. No one saw this coming for the Zr1. So I woke up this morning at 7 o'clock in the morning and we already had a bunch of ZR1 information out there. Some from a French website, and Eddie X just put out a video actually there with the car. Now, here's what is the big outliers here. 1,064 horsepower. No one saw this coming, guys. Everybody was laughing at Motor Trend and the other magazines out there reporting 900 horsepower, saying, nah, it was going to be 815 to 850 at most. 1,064. 1,064 horsepower, and yes, it is a flat plane crank twin turbocharged engine. It is the 5.5 liter, but as the engineer in Eddie X's video said, it is not the LT6 with twin turbos. It is heavily fortified and built into something called the LT7, of course. They also lowered the red line down from 8,600 to 8,000 to help keep it under control and help maintain that warranty with the twin turbocharged setup. Like I said, it was going to be a little bit rough to do that at 8,600 RPM with twin turbos. So they did effectively reduce the red line by 600 RPM, and Taj actually said it is not a linear change. It is drastically reducing the amount of vibration or NVH on the actual engine. So what this means for you is the car is going to still rev out much higher than your typical cross-plane crank engine. It is going to be ridiculously fast with 1,064 horsepower and 828 pound-feet of torque. So this thing is going to be an absolute torque monster right off the bat, not to mention 1,064 horsepower. But guys, moving on, the exterior of the car is not changed a whole heck of a lot over the Z06, but what we have seen through the camo cars on the ring is exactly what we're getting here. We get two extra inlets on the side of the car, and the one that's right above the side boomerang intake is actually a brake cooler. It's not for anything with the turbos. It goes right onto the brakes. The one above that on the coupes only, because the convertibles can't have it there, is an additional air intake. So you have the air intake on the sides as well as the top shoulders of the car. Those are air intakes for the turbos specifically. Now, as we speculated in previous videos, guys, that air channel or hood vent on the ZR1 is in fact deleting the frunk. So Taj verified the frunk is non-existent now on the car, but there is kind of a finishing piece around it that still allows you to pop the frunk hood and take a gander under there, but ultimately that is a pass-through only. Now, what they did say is that pass-through actually has two gigantic radiators or intercoolers sitting there to make sure that this car stays really cool. It still has the outboard radiators just like the Z06, but it also has two of them stacked in the center now, and they're gigantic radiators that as the air passes through and up over the new vent in the frunk, it is going through two radiators to make sure that this car stays absolutely cool. Now, from the pictures, you might be able to tell we are in fact getting a new design of carbon fiber wheels. We mentioned this in a previous video as well, and sure enough, here they are. There are a brand new design, and love them or hate them, we're getting new carbon fiber wheels. Outside of that, of course, you can see the gigantic spoiler on the ZTK option car. And honestly, even the low wing, which looks very similar to the Z06 low wing setup, is still your ZR1 just without the extra arrow. Some people are going to go that route because they hate the big wings, but me, you got to go big. Now, moving around to the rear hatch. Guys, we talked about this a couple times on our live videos and even in my most recent ZR1 Everything We Know video. Sure enough, we do get a redesign on the rear hatch. We have a split window setup. It's kind of different looking. It gives it kind of a Lamborghini-esque vibe. If you guys have ever seen the rear hatch of the Huracan STO, this kind of looks reminiscent to some degree. But what this is really going to do is make it very obvious whenever you see this car driving down the road that that's a ZR1, not a Z06. Between the rear hatch, the giant wing, and the front hood vent, no one's going to mistake this thing for a Z06. With that said, it actually does look pretty much like a Z06 minus those three things. Not much has changed. The interior is basically identical. The engine is definitely where the magic is happening. And guys, again, my mind is freaking blown. 5.5 liter flat plane crank, 8,000 RPM, twin turbo setup, and of course the engineers in Eddie X's video talking about how much they have changed in the engine to make sure that it's able to handle this horsepower. Yeah, there's a lot of changes. Thicker forged titanium rods, just all a list of things to make sure that this engine can handle that power. And because of that, it is the LT7, not an LT6 with turbos on it. Again, 1,064 horsepower, 828 pound-feet of torque. What more can you ask for? I'm really kind of curious at this point where the heck the Zora model is going to come in, because the Zora was the one that was supposed to have 1,000 horsepower. Here we are with the Zr1 already doing it. So does the Zora model exist? If it does, what is it going to do? Is it just going to be this car with a hybrid front battery pack on it, adding another 150 horsepower? It kind of seems pointless at this point. You already got 1,064. Do you really need an extra 150? What's that even going to feel like? But guys, like I said, 12 hours early. We don't even have to wait for the reveal. We're still going to do the live reveal tonight, so make sure you check that out on the channel. But at the same time, this is it. This is the new C8 Corvette Zr1. They have not talked about price yet. Hopefully we'll get some of that information tonight. I'd also like to hear some 0 to 60 numbers. Ted touched on some 80 to 200 numbers on Eddie X's video. He said you could basically go from 80 to 200 and back down in like 20 seconds or something crazy. So the car is confirmed it will hit at least 200, but we haven't heard an actual top speed number yet either. These are the things we'll probably get tonight. Now, if you guys can remember that we were supposed to not even see this car at the reveal, yeah, well, that ended up not being true. We are seeing the car, obviously, right here in all of its glory. All right, guys, anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I just want to get this out to you real quick because it was a very big surprise waking up to this, but here it is. Let me know what your thoughts are on the new C8 Corvette Zr1 down below. And of course, come back at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight for the live video. And the hangout and the reveal will all be right here on the Horsepower Obsessed channel. Until then, guys, smash the thumbs up button if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't yet, and as always, stay obsessed.